Welcome to another episode of The Dissection. I asked Julius Malema an important question today in their press conference about funding, particularly how they're going to deal with the influence of funding in the political party space and in the broader political discourse of South Africa. Here's the question. Here's what he had to say.
The three was changing.
Jamie Mighty from Africa Research Desk. My question is around funding. You've pointed out that the Oppenheimers have influenced the political outcomes by the discourse through funding of various political parties. It also seems that Michel Leroux of Capitec also influenced funding through some of his vehicles, which went to the DA. The question is more long-term, saying, and about going forward. How will these funding dynamics be dealt with in the South African democracy, considering that some of these billionaire entities also control polling companies and they also control media houses? For instance, we saw Naspers donating to 2 political parties, and they also own publications that are reporting on preferred coalition partners. So I wonder what the EFF thinks about that participation of money, but also how is that mitigated to give the general populace, which doesn't have billions, an equivalent say? Thank you.
Well, my discussion with the president were cordial, and he appreciated the EFF's offer and said that it shouldn't be very difficult for them to come back to us with a clear, definite answer. So after the NEC, I'm going to have a meeting again with the president to have a final detail of what is the agreement. And we see that as a role that we're elected to play. We're not elected to be government. That's why we don't have a majority. But if we play any role in parliament, that's what we're elected to do. We are members of parliament. We can be chairpersons of parliament. We can be speaker of parliament. It's a responsibility which the electorate said go and execute. So playing an oversight will not necessarily only mean that you must be in opposition and without any single position in the legislature or parliament. We remain in opposition in positions of committees, in positions of deputy speaker or a speaker. And that even makes that committee to be more effective, because departments are no longer going to go there knowing very well that they're going to enjoy the protection of the chairperson. So that will give the EFF the most efficient and effective way of holding the executive accountable. And that's why we think there's no contradiction in doing that. The interpretation I've given to you, it's a plan B. The first plan was to buy South Africa through the funding of political parties. That's why there is a party change which was given more than 30 million. It ended up not participating in the election. Then Rise Mzansi and all kinds of political parties given huge millions. And what did South Africans do? Rejected those millions. So this answers the same question. What are you saying about the future funding by these institutions which have got control over the research institute, which have got control over the media? South Africans are going to become more and more wiser. And they've demonstrated during these elections that they cannot be bought. They rejected millions. The Oppenheimers were dishing out money unashamedly. When we say Oppenheimers, we mean all of those people. Oppenheimer is a representative of those multimillionaire families of the Ruperts and the Miners and all of them who have been pumping money to try and manipulate the political landscape in South Africa, and that has successfully failed. So what do? We retreat back to our traditional political parties and then unite them. The IFP is not an organization outside the Oppenheimers. It was formed by them. Who in his rightful mind will give Thabisa 20 million? Because he can't even speak to that 20 million himself. So why would someone say, yes, 20 million to Thabisa? To do what with it? Thabisa was given 20 million and then he was pushed out of the campaign The campaign was run by the chairperson and the premier candidate of the IFP in KZN. I found Trabisa campaigning in Malamle. I'm like, what is he doing in Malamle? That's how much was pushed out of the campaign. But the money was put inside the IFP because the IFP is an entity of the Oppenheimer family. You have all seen at the Prince Mangosuthu Buthelez's funeral, where no less than 4 members of the Oppenheimer family are in attendance. There's a video of them greeting President Ramaphosa at Prince Mangosuthu Buthelez's funeral. The Oppenheimers did not go to Mandela's family. They were not a factor in Mandela's family funeral. The Oppenheimers did not go to Obama's lecture in Johannesburg about Mandela, that memorial, what. They were not playing any role. But in the Mangosuthu Buthelez's funeral, they played a prominent role. Why? The Oppenheimers wanted Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi to be the first black president of South Africa. They never believed in the ANC and Nelson Mandela. That's why when Nelson Mandela's first meetings outside South Africa, he was asked by Britain as to what is going to be the role of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi in your cabinet when you win the elections. So Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi and the IFP have always been the project of the Oppenheimer family. The DA, it goes without saying. They control it. Now, they've got hold on the president of the ANC. And the situation demands that they must all come together. The DA complained, have been supported the impeachment of the president. The DA complained about Paul Mashadile. The DA complained about all the corrupt people. All of a sudden, they've got nothing to say about those people. That is an indication that someone came to take out the brain and said, we're moving this direction and we don't want to be questioned. Why would all of a sudden the DA see holy and good leadership in the ANC when they've not throughout the years? Is because when the numbers put together, the Oppenheimers see that they will still continue to be in charge. So the ANC played with an opportunity to isolate imperialist forces and the white monopoly capital in South Africa. This was an opportune moment for progressive political formations to come together. The president says to me, we cannot form the GNU without a DA because we want a non-racial GNU. I asked him a question. Are you saying the ANC is not a non-racial organization? Because the ANC is a non-racial organization without the DA. So why would it say when it comes to government, if there's no DA, we are not non-racial? But when they run their daily activities, including in their constitution, they are non-racial. I said to the president, there are white people in the ANC, in the EFF, in all the progressive formations. White people are found there. If it's about the question of non-racialism, we can still find white people from amongst ourselves. It's not the question of non-racialism. We are not opposed to white people. We are opposed to white supremacy. We are opposed to racism. We are opposed to Africanism. We are opposed to white monopoly capital. Any other progressive name that gets to be put forward by the president of a white person, Indian person, colored person, African person, as long as that is a progressive name, will support it. I said to the president, we voted for the DA in 2016, where you, comrades, were arrogantly defying and denying us an opportunity to work together in 2016. We said to you, let's work together. You said, no, we don't want to work with you in the arrogant manner you are doing. What did we do? We pulled out where the DA was defeating you. We folded our hands. And I said to him, to show you it's not a question of race, and don't leave here saying I'm anti-white people. In 2016, we refused to participate in municipalities with the DA led by a black person. It was led by my money. In Joburg, it was led by Mashaba. We still said, we don't care who are the faces. This organization is a tool for imperialism, and for white monopoly capital. So it's not about colors. It's about the party that represent backwardness, a party that is a racist organization, a party like Freedom Front that says part of its conditions to go into a coalition is that we must declare Orania as a white Afrikaner land. And you say to us, we must go and participate in such a coalition. We'll never do that. Remember, when you are in cabinet, once you are defeated in argument, those decisions are binding on you. As a disciplined member of cabinet, you must go and defend that Orania must be a land of the Afrikaners. We will not do that. We will rather die without occupying positions in government than to allow white supremacists and racists to thrive. Fighters, inclusive government should not mean a compromise on the principle. We are for inclusive government. That's why we said today, we are the first political party to say to the ANC, we will work with you, has always been a project of this people. From school, he went straight to work for Urban Foundation, to work for the Oppenheimers. President Ramaphosa formed NUM. He has never been a mine worker. He has never been underground. From school straight, he was given money with other colleagues to form an NUM that was funded directly by the Oppenheimers. How does NUM, which had a policy conference over the weekend, sing a song, Sebenza kanzima, we're not being paid money, we're paid peanuts? And then one of the people who joins them in singing that song is Pravin Gordhan. They even get addressed by Pravin Gordhan, who's in cahoots with these mines that are exploiting the mine workers. That's a huge contradiction. It can clearly indicate to you that these people do not mean anything they are saying. So this is the end of the ANC. It is not of our own making. The ANC is not dying because the EFF is growing. The ANC is dying a natural death. With or without Zuma, the projections were the way they are now. Before the formation of MKP, the research showed that the ANC is going to go below 50%. And Mbalula polled it below 30%. At some point on the board, it went below 40% for real. So this is the end of it. Because you cannot say you want to change the property relations and you engage in the struggle for land, and then you go into cahoots with the people who are actually opposed to that struggle for the land. So South Africans, there is a story being peddled that we are flip-floppers because in 2016 we worked with DA and today we say we can't work with DA. Let's put it on record, lazy readers and lazy thinkers and people with a memory of a chicken, go and check those facts. We have never worked with the DA. We said we are going to fold our arms because the ANC was arrogantly engaging us. We folded our arms and the DA dealt with them. And today you want to now turn the whole thing and say the EFF worked with the DA. We never went with the DA. We never had an MMC under the DA government. We never had a speaker under the DA government. We never asked that which we're asking from the ANC, from the DA. There's an opportunity for progressive forces to align. When we say progressive forces, the people say you are saying black parties. There are no black parties. We are not a black party. We are a progressive force of the left. We are saying the progressive forces must align. I told the president very clearly that maybe sometimes this thing rings nicely in your ear. When the DA says we'll work only with the ANC of Ramaphosa. It's not true. The ANC of Ramaphosa lost in Tshwane, in Joburg, in Tekwini, in Ikuruleni, and PE. Why didn't the DA offer the president what he is offering them now? Why didn't the DA say there is no outright winner? Come ANC of Ramaphosa, let's work together in time. If this situation we're in now was the DA in this situation with 40% and Freedom Front with 11% and SCDP with 5%, we're not going to be talking these things we're talking. They would have united and isolated all the progressive forces. And I'm not speculating. I'm telling you facts. Go and check in Tshwane, where the DA has got no outright majority. Did it invite the ANC of Ramaphosa because they can only work with the ANC of Ramaphosa? The ANC is under Ramaphosa now, in Tshwane, in Joburg, in Ekurhuleni. Why is the DA not inviting him? It is because Ramaphosa suffers from inferiority. He cannot work without white supervision. To invite the DA is to invite supervisors. It's not to invite progressive white people to come and join hands with us to rebuild South Africa. So we reject this government with everything it deserves, for as long as it puts in white supremacists, it puts in Afrikanerdom, it puts in colonialism and imperialism, will not be part of the neo-colonial government. Comrades and everybody else who seek to persuade us otherwise, we are making a plea, leave us alone. If this is our natural death, let us die with our boots on.
Here are my reflections on the EFF strategy. It appears that the EFF is embracing being in the opposition benches. And part of the thinking around this is that actually they'll be better able to go back to their fundamental discussion points, land, unemployment, and to also point out the inequalities and the racial disparities that continue to exist in South Africa. This is something that other political parties which are within a government of national unity will not be able to do. If you recall what happened to the Good Party when they were within an ANC, fold, so to speak, by occupying a ministry, they actually dropped votes and they didn't do as well in the second election. So it's very possible that the parties that go into this government of national unity, quote unquote, will actually suffer from the sins of the incumbency, because they will not be able in some ways to aggressively hold them to account, because they are also occupying positions as a result of this government of national unity. So it looks like the EFF is willing to go into the opposition benches, and that may actually benefit them in the long term. But the variables are so many. So tomorrow, one of the things we'll be looking out for is whether or not the MK actually shows up to Parliament. What happens in that respect? I'm not sure if they swore in or they didn't swear in, but we'll have to see. What do you think? What do you make about everything that Julius Malema said today? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Look out for a longer episode tomorrow, breaking down all of the elements that we need to look forward to and all of the elements that are unfolding as we speak right now. Don't forget to double tap like and to subscribe to the channel. Helps YouTube find the algorithm. Till the next one.